Hi, I'm Josh Lee, and this is my case study for EDL 851 over a good teacher turns bad, stress at home causes problems at school. Just to summarize what's happening here, this is a principal of an elementary school in her third year and going into her fourth year of being a principal. She was a teacher for 13 years before that. This is her first administrative job. She got into an elementary school that had good test scores, good relationships with staff, a good building, and an easy one to work in for a first building. Not a lot to change there. After spring break of her third year, there started to be some issues with one of the teachers. And this is a former Teacher of the Year candidate, one of her stronger teachers, and just seemed less friendly than she used to be. Started to have some confrontations with other staff members and felt like she was always right and had issues with somebody disagreed with her. Um, the principal found out that this teacher had some home issues. Her husband had left her. She was alone now, raising her two kids, and the stress was leaking over into her school life. Uh, School year ended, and the principal had hoped that, given the summertime, this teacher would come back next year and things would be better. It turns out the next year started, and the situation was worse. The teacher started to have those issues that were happening with staff spill over into working with students, and it was becoming verbally abusive to students, um, and embarrassing students in front of the class. The district was adopting a new reading program, and the teacher was confrontational with anybody who was in favor of it because she was very against it, didn't want to make the change. And it started coming out that there were some calls to the school board from parents who wanted their kids moved out of her class, that they weren't happy with this teacher and her behavior. Things kind of came to a head when one parent called the principal wanting to have a meeting with the teacher. He had said that his daughter wasn't sleeping or eating well and didn't want to go to school and was very sad about it, and that she was being yelled at and kind of berated or embarrassed in class. So the principal scheduled the meeting, set up the meeting. The teacher was defensive in this process, but agreed to go have the meeting because she's basically told that's what's going to happen. The parent shows up. We have a meeting with the principal, the teacher, and the parent. As soon as the three of them sit down, the principal asks the parent what they want to accomplish with the meeting, and the parent basically says, I want my kid out of the class. I'm tired of them being embarrassed, being yelled at. I want them out of the class. When that happens, the teacher stands up, slams her hand on the table, calls the parent a liar, says the kid's lying, these are all lies, none of this is really true, none of this is happening. Everybody's kind of taken aback by this. Like, that's not something that you would do in a conference. And so the principal tries to calm the situation, shakes the parent's hand, walks them out, lets them know we'll talk again later. The parent gets kind of a parting shot in there saying, imagine what this is like for all of the students in your classroom, and leaves. When the principal turns around, the teacher is still standing there, arms crossed, still angry, red-faced, confrontational. So the situation is, what do we do? Where do we go from here? And what are we going to do to fix the situation that we have? Category one was problem identification, and we talk about what do we know, what do we need to know, and what is the problem we're trying to solve. So things I know. Again, we know this is a relatively new principal in the third and into the fourth year of being a principal. We're talking about a strong teacher, formerly strong teacher, somebody who was a Teacher of the Year candidate, knows what they're doing and can do the job, but has now become confrontational with both students and staff, different situations. And that we are receiving lots of complaints, and these are coming through the school board or coming just straight to the principal about the teacher's behavior towards students. And that I would say the issues are escalating. They certainly aren't improving at all. They're getting worse. We've gone from dealing with teacher-teacher issues to teacher-student issues and teacher-parent issues, and it's just getting worse over time. Something has to be done sooner rather than later to fix this. I need to know a few things. For example, background information and evaluations that we've done, especially on this teacher. Has this been a cycle? Is this just something obviously starting with this one situation she had at home, or has there been any other signs at all we can look at? What does the student data say? If we're tracking our students' progress and our students' growth academically, like, has there been a drop-off since these issues started to spring up? And then I want to know about district personnel policies. What do we have in place as a district as far as plans of assistance, or as far as teacher files when things like this occur? Like, what do we do? What as a district, what are the things that we do, and what are our next steps? I think our main problem is we want to make sure that we meet the needs of all the stakeholders involved. That's the teachers, all of them in the building. That's the students, especially in this one classroom. And that's the parents who are stakeholders for our school district and our school building. How do we meet the needs of all of them to the best of our ability? So my proposed plan, and I've got several items here we want to go through and things we're going to do. The first thing I have is that we have to have a conference with the teacher and discuss these issues. And these issues are both personal issues and professional issues. I want to stress to this teacher that it's difficult to do your job professionally if personally you're not ready to do it. You have to take care of yourself first. The district I work in has a policy where we've got a counseling service that teachers and their families can take advantage of when things just aren't working out correctly for them. That's because our district understands it's important for teachers to be ready mentally to do their job. You have to take care of yourself. And I want to stress that to this teacher, that there are issues at home and she needs to take care of those things to be ready to do her job as a teacher. Professionally, the teacher has to understand there are issues that have come up here. We can't have all these student complaints. We can't have confrontations with parents or refusals to meet with parents and talk to them and communicate with them. Those things have to get changed too. But it does start with taking care of yourself as a person. Step 2, and the next thing I want to take care of, is we want to build and mend relationships between all the stakeholders. Now, that's teachers with teachers, that's teachers with students, that's students or teachers with parents. All those relationships have to be mended in some cases, have to be built from the ground up in other cases. This has to start with this teacher apologizing to the parent that she had the meeting with that was so confrontational. She has to understand it's not okay, and you have to apologize for that behavior. You can explain however you want to explain with what you've had going on, but you must apologize. And then we have to have follow-up communication as often as needed. And that might be that the parent decides they want to have communication a certain amount of time every week or whatever it may be. And that might be with the principal, with the teacher, but we have to keep that communication line open. I want to talk to my mentor or my colleagues or whoever I can about what our district policies. Again, with 2 other elementary buildings, there are other elementary principals we can discuss. What do you do when in this district when teachers or when parents request a change of teacher? What do you do if you have parents or teachers who do a certain thing? What are the policies the district has worked with? That will at least give a baseline or a framework for what steps have been done in the district in the past, so you're not kind of going rogue by yourself on something completely different. And as a principal, I want to have an increased amount of visibility. I want to be everywhere. Obviously, it's not possible, but that means being visible in the hallways, being open to students talking to you in the hallways so that they know that you're part of the building and there to help them. Be more visible probably on walkthroughs, especially in this one teacher's classroom. The more times you pop in unexpectedly, the harder it would be to hide something that's going so poorly in classroom. And then with evaluations, obviously, like you want to make sure those are honest and that you're having those evaluations and you're seeing what's really occurring there and taking the steps necessary to fix anything that's not going well. Next, I want to talk about maintaining lines of open communication. This is all stakeholders. This particular teacher was talking, it says that they're not having parent communication. Well, that's not okay. As a principal, as teachers, we have to be open with our communication and letting people know what's going on. The school is not some hidden building that nobody can be a part of. Like, we want to know and be open with what's happening in our building. That's an emphasis for all staff. And I put here especially Mrs. Horton, but all staff need to know there are several non-negotiables we're going to have as a staff when relating to our students and our parents. And 2 of those have been broken here. 1, we have a non-negotiable that we're going to have open lines of parent communication. We want to talk to parents for the good and the bad and everything in between. Be open and communicate with your parents. This is especially true in elementary where you have a handful of kids that are yours all day. Those parents should know you and be ready to be communicated with by you. And then the other non-negotiable is that we are going to build relationships with our students. It is super important that we have positive relationships and our kids feel comfortable with us. Students will not learn from somebody that they're scared of. And I think that's the situation we have here is there are students who are afraid of this teacher. That's not okay, and this has to be mended. And then finally, we have to address any additional parent concerns. And this probably has to come from the administrative level before it goes to the teachers, but there has to be communication with these parents that we're taking steps to resolve the problem. We can't act like they didn't call the school board. We can't act like there weren't issues. But as we correct those issues and work through them, we have to maintain communication with those parents. Now, category 3, finding a resolution that's best for all the students. What is best for students? What are the things we can do in our building that are best for student learning? I have 4 things here. First of all, we need teachers who are mentally prepared to teach. Mrs. Horton wasn't, but we can fix that. She may need counseling. She may need just to talk through her problems. We need to make sure that our teachers are mentally prepared to do the best they can for their students. We need teachers who emphasize the building of relationships with their students. In other words, we talked about with elementary especially, it's so important that students have a relationship with their teacher, that they feel comfortable with them, that they're confident the teacher likes them and wants to be there with them in order for them to learn most effectively. We haven't had that. We're going to build that. We have open lines of communication between all the stakeholders. We've talked about this before. We're talking about parents with our teachers, principals with our parents. Everybody has to be able to communicate and have those communication lines open where nobody feels like they can't say what needs to be said. And then administrators who are visible in the school and in the classrooms. Students are going to learn best when they're being led. And if we have a principal and administrators who are visible and are part of the process, that's going to help our students have the best situation they can have. Category 4 is to reflect on the problem. We're talking about what are my thoughts, my feelings, what am I valuing as I'm looking through this problem. First of all, my thoughts, things I'm thinking about are, again, we talked about this, what is the evaluation history? What do we have in the background for this teacher? What has this district done in the past for situations similar, if they've had anything like this? So we don't have to go on our own and recreate the wheel. If there's a wheel there, let's use it. And then I was thinking about what's the faculty morale overall? And this was a strong staff and a strong building in the past. Does it still feel that way with one exception? Or has this brought down everybody altogether? I wondered about that. My feelings, I feel concerned for the students. I hate the idea of especially young kids who feel unsafe in the classroom. I was concerned about these students. I have concern for staff members. I'd like to be a part of a building where the staff feels comfortable with each other and there's not going to be a lot of turnover that way. I think that's probably an issue in this building now. If you've got somebody who has been there for a while and kind of is seen as a person of power who's being confrontational, that probably hurts the staff overall. And I felt a feeling of resolve that this problem needs to be solved. We can't have this happening. We need to fix it. Things I valued in this situation, I value student success. I want students to do the best they can. I value keep making sure we maintain student safety. And I value improving our faculty and our faculty keeping on working on improving themselves as teachers, both in the educational aspect of it and in the emotional or relationship building part of it. Things are still unresolved. Communication with parents of all students involved. We have to go back and communicate with everybody. We can't ignore some of the teachers, parents who weren't a part of the major issue. Communicate with all parents involved. We need to ensure that we have a positive learning experience for all of our students, not just the students. All of our students have to feel like they have a good experience there. We're going to monitor our student data to see if the students are achieving well. So we want to look at their growth and make sure they're still having that growth. And we want to figure out how do we document in this district when these things happen. We don't know how that happens right now. What happens in the district when you have these situations? Do you keep this in a teacher's file? What do we do there? So, Category 5, instructional capacity. So we're going to promote the academic success of every student by enhancing the instructional capacity of our staff. 3 things I have here to do this. First of all, we need to monitor our student data. And that's SPMs or student progress measures. We want to see that the students are growing, especially in this situation. Were there drop-offs in student growth based on what's happened here? We want to have follow-up meetings and communication for all of our walkthroughs or evaluations. And I know meetings are tough, but some kind of communication, a quick email, this is what I saw, this is what we can improve on, what are we doing with this? And just having that communication so we're open and talking and keeping up with what's happening in our rooms. And we want to promote collaboration. If we have 3 first grade teachers, we should have 3 first grade teachers who all collaborate and are doing the same things and talking about it. And we want to collaborate kindergarten to first to second to third as well, so we have that steady growth of our students as they go through place to place. Those things will help increase our teachers' ability to be good instructional leaders in their classrooms. We also want to make sure that we take care of the personal well-being of our students in our classrooms. And this is we're going to make sure, we said this before, we're going to meet with students and parents when there are concerns. We don't turn down parent meetings when they're requested by a parent. We want to determine any validity of concerns and problem solve to find acceptable solutions. So if there's something that's really coming up that has to be fixed, we need to figure out how we're going to fix it. And we're going to collaborate and do the best we can for that. And then as part of our school's culture, our non-negotiables, we're going to emphasize building relationships within our school. It's going to happen. Again, teacher students, teacher parent, build those relationships. And finally, we talk about instructional capacity and enhancing all of the instructional capacity. I mentioned before, communication is a non-negotiable. We've said it several times over. We're going to provide targeted professional development. What are the things that we see in classrooms that need to be worked on, and how do we fix them? We can't just provide an overall professional development if it's not targeted at what we actually have for needs. So we're going to provide a targeted professional development for our staff. And we're going to increase our administrative presence in the building so that we are there. We're there to be talked to by students, by teachers. We're just seen in the building. You can't hide from us. We're around. I think in doing these things, we're going to enhance the instructional ability of all of our teachers and as our building as a whole. Thank you.